All right, metabolic workout number 4. This is circuit number 1. So we're gonna start with the front squat, barbell front squat. It's gonna be a tough exercise, quad dominant exercise, also a lot of core. I like to start with this because it keeps the back in a much better position, and people who struggle with back squats, who don't have the mobility for a back squat, tend to be a little better at the front squat. So that's why we're gonna include that. As soon as we finish that, we're gonna move into a forward plank, again, a static plank. You should know what that's all about. We've talked about that already before. Then we're gonna move into a chin up. So you wanna have a rack for this, move right into a chin up for the lats. Then we're gonna move into an alternating arm kettlebell shoulder press. You can also use dumbbells for this if you don't have access to kettlebells. And then we're gonna move into a rear delt fly. So in terms of equipment necessary, you're gonna need a rack with a barbell, and then you're gonna need one set of kettlebells or a set of dumbbells for the overhead alternating arm press, and then one set of dumbbells a little bit lighter for the rear delt, the bent over rear delt fly. All right, if for some reason your squat rack doesn't have an overhead pull-up bar, you can always use the bar that you're doing the front squats on in order to work with the chin-ups. I'll show you that when we get to the chin-up. But let's start with the front squat. So front squat, there's a couple of different ways to do this. There's the Olympic style or CrossFit style. I'm gonna show you this way just so you can kind of see, where you get underneath the bar, you press that bar up against you, and you bend your wrist back, and you kind of hold the bar with your elbows up. I can't do that, it's very hard on my wrists, and it hurts. There's also the bodybuilder style for us less flexible folks. The bodybuilder style, you cross your arms over, and you lift your elbows like this. It's a little bit easier. So in terms of the front squat, the way you want to get in this is you want to push that bar all the way up against your chest, just below your collarbones. So my collarbones are right here. You don't want to press it on the bones. You want to press it on the meat of your chest. So I'm pressing it up against my chest. I sort of dig it in there. You want to lift your arms underneath like this, and you want to make sure it's sitting on your shoulders and on the top part of your chest. Again, not on the collarbones, not on the actual bones. You know it's in the right spot because you'll be able to lift the bar up like this when you get in the right spot. And then again, with the bodybuilder method, which I'm gonna do, because that's what I'm gonna show you to do, because that's what I do, you're gonna cross your arms over the bar, and you wanna kind of hold on to the bar. Because one of the things with the front squat that's gonna happen is that bar is gonna wanna roll forward. So you gotta keep those elbows up, and you gotta keep those hands on the bar to prevent the bar from rolling forward. That's the one downside to the front squat, is that you gotta really fight those elbows up to hold the bar in the right position. But if you lose the weight for any reason, all you gotta do is drop it right in front of you, and at least you won't get injured. Unlike the back squat, where you're liable to catch yourself in the back with the barbell, you can just drop the weight in front of you if you need to. So the way it looks is like this. Oh, also one last thing. If you feel like this bar is choking you when you're doing your front squats, that means you're doing it correctly. It's going to feel like it's choking you. It's gonna feel slightly uncomfortable, that's okay. My recommendation is go light on these to start as you learn, and then you can increase the weight as you go on. All the cues stay the same in terms of squatting. You wanna push those hips back first. And on the front squat, since we're front loaded, don't be afraid to push those hips back and bring yourself into a squatted position. Oftentimes people want to go very knee dominant on this and kind of lean forward because the weight's forward. Don't. You're not going to fall over because you're front loaded with the bar. So push those hips back and get into that good squat position. I'll show you what I mean. So bar all the way up against the chest, underneath the collarbone. Elbows are underneath. I can lift the bar so I know I'm in the right position. Hands are going to go on the bar, and I'm gonna lift up and out. I like to stay a little bit narrow on this with the feet slightly pointed out. Again, elbows up, and then I'm gonna drop down and drive out. Remember, activate those legs if I feel like you're splitting the floor. Obviously, I normally wouldn't squat the rack backwards, but for demonstration purposes, it works. All right, next, That's gonna be taxing on the body, especially on the cardiovascular system. So next we're gonna move right into a forward plank. So you could drop down right here right in front of the squat rack, and go right into your forward plank. Remember, your cues on the plank are toes, legs straight as you flex the quads. Toes, glutes activated, then legs straight, then pop those hips and shoulder blades down and back. And again, a much more active plank where we're pulling those elbows towards the feet towards the elbows, and tucking the pelvis in underneath us as we pull the navel towards the spine. I know that's a couple of cues, but just go through them one at a time and you'll get it. All right, next we're gonna move into the chin up. So again, if you have an overhead rack, awesome. If you don't, you can use the bar and you can do a kind of hybrid assisted chin up where you keep your feet on the ground and you pull yourself up and then come down and up and then down. Obviously that's less than ideal, and if you can do regular body weight chin ups, you want to try to find an overhead rack that you can go to, but in terms of ease and moving from one exercise to the next, if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. I'm gonna do a regular chin up though, right over here. So I'm gonna come right up under here. Remember, hands in front of shoulders, reach up, keep those shoulder blades down and back, and then go right into it. All right, as soon as we finish that chin up, we are gonna move over and grab our kettlebells for the alternating arm kettlebell overhead press. Again, you can use dumbbells for this if you don't have access to kettlebells, but I prefer kettlebells. So we're gonna come down here and we're gonna pick these up. All right. Now, if you're using dumbbells, just go ahead and hammer curl them up to the right position. If you're using kettlebells, you wanna kind of swing them up and get them right up into this rack position. So they're rested nicely between my forearm, my bicep, and my shoulder. My elbows are tucked in. So I'm in this nice rack position. I can hold them here for a good amount of time, not too hard. Use the legs on this. You want to use the legs just enough in order to get a good pop to press the weight overhead. So it's gonna look, this is not a strict press by any means. Use those legs. So shoulder width on the feet, slightly pointed out. Little pop in the knees and drive up. Right back down into position. Drive up. Right back down. Drive up. Right back down. Drive up. So use those legs, again, as much as you need to. Just a little pop will do. If you think about it, if you were gonna do a box jump or something, you'd only want to bend a little bit down and then pop up. So just a little pop in the knees. No need for a full squat by any means. Lastly, we're gonna move into the bent over rear delt fly. So again, just like the bent over row, we want to get those hips back. We want that back to be in a nice flat position. So we're not here with the back rounded and we're not overarched here. We're in a nice neutral position. So in order to get in that neutral position, you want to pull those shoulder blades down and back again. We're going to hear that cue often. So shoulder blades down and back. You're in this position here. I'm going to be holding these dumbbells right in front of my body here. And I want to, with a slight bend in my elbow, I want to drive these dumbbells out and away from my body. Too often people think about sort of pulling them back in here and they bend at their arms and they end up using a lot of back muscles for this. The focus of this exercise is supposed to be our rear delts. Our rear delts running through our arm right here. So you want to think about a soft bend in the elbow and driving those weights away from our body here, out here, to get those rear delts activated and get out in here, not in here. So it's not a back exercise, it's a rear delt exercise. So keep that soft bend in the elbow, but focus on driving those weights away from the body in this direction, and that's gonna activate those rear delts, okay? So this is what it looks like. So nice back position, dumbbells in front, drive out, control on the way down. Drive out, control on the way down. Drive out, control on the way down. And again, you should be feeling that here on that rear delt, not in the back, certainly. So use a weight, be conservative on it, and use a weight light enough at first that you can learn how to do the form properly, and you can always move the weight up as you progress.